They referred to it as untouchable, a brand protected by ironclad weights wielded by billionaires and draped in silk scarves. Overnight, Hermès supposedly caused prices to drop globally when Chinese manufacturers destroyed its last line of protection. Mystique because factory owners half a globe away determined that corporate greed had gone too far. The Paris behemoth is losing status, money, and trust with every dollar that leaves a Birkin's tag.
Our artisans, they need to do 4 years of training to be able to manufacture a Kelly bag. This that you've just seen, the perlage, you need to be very skilled and very
Xianglong Apparel, who supplies the most yoga suits, and it is also the OEM for Fila and Under Armour. Number 2, Hongqisheng Clothing, who produces yoga suits for Lululemon. Lululemon sells this jacket for nearly $100, but here only costs you $6 to $5 with similar fabric and quality.
Another stone falls from the temple of luxury. This time, it was a TikTok video shot on a dusty phone in the corner of a Guangdong leather factory. The 11-second short burst decades of illusion in it, and it wasn't from a journalist, whistleblower, or business insider. The camera pans around to reveal a line of half-finished bags with a smiling leather cutter casually pointing to one that appears uncannily.
Which Chinese factory supplies for Louis Vuitton? Let me tell you the secret. Louis Vuitton have many Chinese suppliers, but they just don't admit it. 50% of the Louis Vuitton bags are from these 2 places, Guangzhou City and Dongguan City. 90% of Louis Vuitton silk is from Wanshili in Hangzhou City. I have a friend who is a manager in the factory of Louis Vuitton, and he told me that the similar quality one just needs $50 US. This is crazy, right?
The real bomb. This beauty costs less than $1,200 to make materials, labor, and shipping included. At first, people thought it was a joke, but the comments indicated otherwise. Dozens of viewers began tagging accounts from China's vast gray market manufacturing scene, also known as the same network of skilled artisans that luxury brands have been accused of covertly using for years. This is similar to Hermès Birkin, but he calls it by a different name, their Type 001 orange export.
Some of Hermès products are made in China. Towels are from Fuyue in Shandong. They also make products for Chanel and IKEA. Beddings are from Yue in Shandong. Men's shoes are from Shachi in Shandong. Tableware are from Gaochun in Jiangsu.
It was my first time shopping at Hermès, and let me tell you how it went.
We got a lot of requests, do Hermès next. And that's why we're here in the Highland Park Mall.
In Italy, made in China, or maybe made in Chile. Oh yeah, that should be a thing, by the way, because some brands get real creative when it comes to...
In just a few hours, imitation videos begin to appear. Craftspeople record themselves cutting crocodile leather, sewing silk linings, and stamping logos that appear too flawless to be fake. They don't even bother to cover their faces. A wall of bags with the label H and French-looking serial tags attached is shown in one film flat out. Another factory worker shrugs and remarks, "We make them better than Paris." Influencers begin analyzing the fashion video. YouTubers begin by breaking out the stitching structure frame by frame.
Almost finished bags from China factories, back to their own factories, and just do the repackaging and logo installing.
And one viral video even compares the Birkins from Guangdong factories with legitimate ones from resale shops, discovering nearly comparable quality. Even the zipper designs resemble those of authentic Hermès inventories. The suggestion that South China's industrial zone is where Hermès' impeccable portrayal of European history is purportedly put together.
Put the finishing touches on a Kelly, the most difficult bag to build. It starts with 30 distinct cuts of leather and can take 20 hours to complete, 4 hours for just the handle. There are no manuals or cheat sheets. Artisans rely on their training and muscle memory to make every bag.
People aren't just astonished, they're incensed. The brand established its empire on exclusivity, grandeur, and handcrafted mystery, but if up to 80% of the bags made in France are actually produced in Chinese ghost factories, then Hermès wasn't lying.
Luxury bags carefully handcrafted in China. The viral TikToks from Chinese factory workers, the internet is now in a frenzy over claims that some of the most iconic designer bags are actually born in the...
It made tens of billions of dollars off of the lie. So when the rumor surfaced that Hermès was secretly cutting prices all over the world after the scandal broke, it didn't feel like a strategy. Rather, it felt like surrender, and what followed would blow the entire industry up in flames once the internet had the receipts.
I spent over $100,000 of my own money dissecting luxury bags, cutting them open, analyzing every stitch, every layer. Why? Because I had to know what made those bags so.
So Hermès has put out a response to China, and they have like a video in a factory sort of showing people trying to show that they're actually the ones who are making the bags in a factory somewhere.
In addition to watching the factory exposes, viewers paused the film, took out a calculator, and calculated that a $38,000 boutique Birkin compared to a $400 production cost is not luxury. Rather, it's legal, ridiculous, and the worst part was that many felt like playing tick. The original factory film was edited by one person overnight, transforming talk into a courtroom. The caption said, "This is why your rent is late and your credit card is maxed. You didn't buy a bag, you bought a fantasy, and it scammed you." In just 3 days, that post garnered 14 million views. Soon after, a slew of content producers descended upon YouTubers, releasing exposed titles such as Hermès Exposed, 40K bags created for pennies, and luxury falsehoods you believe and yet pay for. Even financial influencers joined in, positioning Hermès as the next Wall Street flinched when Hermès' stock fell like a rock, losing billions of dollars in market value in a single afternoon. Hedge funds rushed to sell luxury equities, while analysts cautiously downgraded LVMH. The Ronos of fashion, smoke mirrors, and a stitched-up dream were marketed to the ultra-rich. Chanel and Gucci are worried that similar exposures could occur next. The fury wasn't limited to digital protesters. In Hong Kong, demonstrators allegedly demonstrated outside a Hermès boutique with placards that read "Greed in Orange." The luxury sector wasn't only bleeding, it was also exploding. At least one influencer was seen shouting, "I'm done with heritage lies," as they threw a Kelly bag into a garbage receptacle. Hermès leadership allegedly called an emergency board meeting in response to a worldwide scandal, and the outcome was a decision so unimaginable and degrading that it sent shockwaves through the fashion industry and caused global prices to drop by up to 30%. For some, this was a red flag. For others, it was evidence of guilt. But in any case, the illusion vanished and the internet crashed. There was an even worse quiet in China's major Hermès outlets. Shanghai's Nanjing Road locale was a hive of luxury just a year ago. Under armed security, wealthy influencers recorded every moment as if it were a pilgrimage, and customers waited in line like it was a nightclub VIP, sipping champagne and perusing bags. However, in less than 2 weeks, Cricut's store traffic fell by more than 50%, and sales associates stood idly by while regulars passed by with empty stares and no interest. According to rumors, one store missed its daily revenue target for the first time in 5 years, and the cries of the Chinese luxury consumer who had grown tired of dressing up for Western companies that made fun of them behind closed doors intensified during a purported emergency earnings call. The CFO of Hermès allegedly acknowledged what everyone already suspected: "We've lost control of the narrative." The brand, which had previously used silence as a weapon of mystery, had abruptly turned into the most vocal online scandal. Their reaction was to immediately cut prices, first in Asia, then in Europe, and then in the US. The objective was to simply stop the bleeding and attempt to maintain enough appeal to prevent loyal customers from leaving permanently, but the harm was generational rather than just reputational because, to millions of consumers in their 20s and 30s, this wasn't a scandal but rather a wake-up call, and desperation can't even begin to make up for it. Board members were allegedly informed by the CFO that our brand equity dies in 6 months if we don't act now. However, the most devastating blow wasn't in the spreadsheet or on the sales floor. Rather, it was waiting in the spotlight amid flashing cameras and million-dollar heels, where the Hermès brand was set to be betrayed by its biggest megaphones, the celebrities who initially made it famous. At that point, everything started to unravel even more quickly, with celebrities who made their reputations on showing off their Birkins suddenly looking cornered. An Instagram picture of Cardi B's rainbow collection is removed. Kim Kardashian claims in a curt statement that she is evaluating brand alliances. Known for treating Birkins like gym bags, Victoria Beckham cancels her planned presence at a Hermès pop-up. The message is unmistakable. No one wants to represent corporate greed that has been forced into the open and as star support crumbles. Resale values fall when Hermès' aura is restored to pristine state. This week's stocks listings are drowning in red arrows, yet Birkin might flip twice as much at retail in a few hours. The algorithm used by Vestiaire Collectives causes prices to plummet by 45% overnight, and flippers are furious, accusing her of destroying the secondary ecosystem that turned the brand into an investment rather than a handbag. The boardroom at Hermès goes to war when auction firms postpone planned luxury sales out of fear that their lots would sink on the block. Investors want answers. In Asia, Louis Vuitton discreetly lowers the price of a few models. Gucci drops. Even Rolex is feeling the shakes as they reduce authorized dealer rates in Hong Kong due to hush-hush loyalty rebates in WeChat ad groups. Analysts fear that if another manufacturing whistleblower comes forward, the entire industry may suffer a margin Armageddon, with every brand scurrying to reinvent supply chain fairy tales. The luxury cartel has never looked this vulnerable. Hermès' purported price cut appears to be more of the beginning of a price war that no one can afford. So where does that leave the House of Hermès? Let's face it, the spell is broken, the allure is gone, the wait lists, the myth that a Birkin is worth more than your car. All of it only worked because people thought it was sacred. Now that the internet knows that the Emperor's scarf costs $18 to weave and that the handcrafted magic can be replicated in a warehouse in Guangdong, that belief is circling the drain. And the worst part is that once trust is broken in luxury, it cannot be restored with a clever campaign or a new logo. Hermès must innovate something that no luxury company has ever dared to do: radical transparency, if it hopes to survive. Wages for labor chains of supply, since Gen Z and younger millennials aren't buying prestige but rather purpose. They don't want to hear that the bag costs $40,000 because it's exclusive. Instead, they want to know why it costs $40,000 when the person who stitched it barely made a day's wage. Unless Hermès can respond to that without recoiling, they're not just risking profits, they're risking relevance. The next generation of luxury will not be based on velvet ropes and crocodile skins. Rather, it will be based on values that genuinely withstand scrutiny. Hermès, for all its pedigree, is at a crossroads, clinging to an old myth or reinventing what exclusive means in a world that has seen the receipts your move. Chinese manufacturers didn't just reveal where the bags were made, they yanked the curtain off the entire industry. The question now is whether Hermès will rise from the ashes or be remembered as the orange box fade to gray.